I'm gonna climb a tree.
Watch out.
Ah!
Hi there, welcome to another episode of the Forbidden Limb Podcast. I'm Richard New, your host, and I'm here as always with Brian Hink and Jeremy Commander. This week we're going to be talking about, Brian just finished a Kickstarter campaign for your new Bombers and Traders expansion for Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Yep.
So he's going to take us through the general outline of what happened during the campaign.
Yeah.
So start us off with the basic timeline of when things took place.
Yeah, sure. Actually, before I'll do that, I'll talk a little bit about. So we funded, so that's good.
Yay!
And then I'm really happy with how we did too. We didn't knock it out of the park. We didn't get a $100,000 campaign, but it's a good step up from our previous campaign with New Salem. Which was a pretty good step up from our first campaign for Good Cop, Bad Cop. And that's exactly what we want to do, and kind of, I guess, the philosophy of our company, or just to start small and then build, and, do it in a very low-risk way. We spent no money on advertising. You could possibly consider the review copies that we sent out as advertising, but that's the only thing, just to manufacture and ship out review copies to a bunch of video reviewers and blog writers and that kind of thing. But otherwise, no ads anywhere. It was very, very low risk, and so we're just trying to figure out how to build a good campaign, get people interested, hopefully convert people from our previous campaigns who just enjoyed the experience and received a good game on time when delivering
on time.
What we said when we said
that's a big deal.
That is a big thing for
I'd
Jeremy.
say maybe
most people probably.
Yeah, maybe half the Kickstarters I back ship on time, if that. That's generous. Maybe so. It's probably I have to go look. It's probably somewhere between like a third and half.
Yep.
The majority do not ship on time.
And we do that just by, not doing anything crazy with the stretch goals for the most part. Just very simple stretch goals that we've quoted beforehand. We know exactly, what it will cost, how much it will cost to ship it. Everything is all planned out beforehand.
I'll say again for the record, I hate stretch goals.
Yeah, yep. So numbers, we haven't even talked about numbers. So Good Cop, Bad Cop, our first campaign, 374 backers, which is really good. A super low price point. It got $5,864. So very modest campaign, but 374 backers is pretty good for a first campaign. Then
somebody again, no one had ever heard of you, right? It's the first thing ever.
Not
You're not known for anything game wise.
Yep.
Like, who are these guys?
Yep.
That's not bad for coming out of nowhere.
Which is why we did a 54 card game, and we had a goal of $3,000. I want to tell everybody who's out there, a new designer, if you're thinking about doing your first Kickstarter campaign, start small.
Absolutely.
Just do a 54 card game. That's what you should do. So New Salem was better. We had 630 backers for New Salem. A lot of them converted from Good Cop, Bad Cop. And that was just under $20,000 for that campaign. So both increases there. Now for Bombers and Traders, which is just an expansion to Good Cop, Bad Cop. Oftentimes expansions don't do as well as the original.
That's true.
But this one did. We had 870 backers. And $28,683. So we were happy, just kind of stepping up and
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, the conventional Hollywood wisdom is that for a sequel, it will do 2/3 what the original did, or the previous movie did, and so they kind of like targeted. You're just supposed to do 2/3 what the previous one did. And so having a sequel exceed the original, that's quite good.
And I think the reason is because Good Cop, Bad Cop, nobody had heard of us. And so,
right.
Very few people backed our campaign. But this was kind of a second chance. Now that we got really good reviews from different people, people were like, oh, yeah, this is, I trust that this is a good game. Now is my second chance to back it on Kickstarter, get the Kickstarter exclusive card that we had from the first campaign. So,
Okay.
Next thing we can talk about is referrers. So how did people get to our campaign? Where did they come from? When people backed the campaign,
How did they hear about it?
Yep, and so the Kickstarter dashboard, which you can see here, has a list of the refers that they track, but it's not very accurate. It's not at all, and they tend towards giving credit to themselves.
Yes.
So
you can many qualified sources that have done some real hard digging into this.
Yeah.
Like Kickstarter overinflates their own discovery and the accuracy is only so. I'm glad they give you the dashboard, but it's not. You got to take it with a grain of salt.
And I shouldn't say that they do, because I honestly have no hard evidence on that.
I've seen hard evidence that convinced me.
Yep. So as you can see, though, we've got 202. It says coming from the discovery of Kickstarter. So that's where you go to Kickstarter.com, you hit the Discover button, and you type in something, cop. Maybe you see good cop, bad cop that
Or
way.
my favorite is to go board games, filter by California. Like who's local? Who's got a game I want to back?
So some people do that. I know 202 or 22.7% of the people did not just happen upon the campaign. I don't believe that happened. But what they might have done is they might have heard about the campaign, not quite known the name, and then typed in it that way. Yeah, they're like, they heard it on a podcast. And like, oh, I got to find out more about that, and they discover it.
Or to call it up, I just Googled it. I Googled
so we have
Traders Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Came right up.
So we have 14 of our backers came from Googling it. So that was only 1.4%. But some important ones here. So there's a lot of them that are just Kickstarter related, finding it from Kickstarter user profiles. Board Game Geek was a pretty big one with 73 backers. So that's just so many gamers are out there.
10% of your people came from Board Game Geek?
Yeah.
Approximately?
Yep. Just under 10%. And so you need to, if you have run a Kickstarter campaign, you need to understand Board Game Geek. You need to use it. You need to be responsive, and you will find a lot of backers that way. Shut Up and Sit Down is pretty big. 35 people came directly from seeing an article on Shut Up and Sit Down about the campaign, clicking on a link from it, and then actually backing immediately. 35. And
4%?
So, 4.36%.
Yeah, man.
And I bet plenty more saw it in the article and then just typed it in the search in Kickstarter.com or typed it into Google. More than 35 actually came from it, but I don't know how
Or
many.
as a board game enthusiast and the big-time Kickstarter backer, I may see the Shut Up and Sit Down and go, yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
And it doesn't quite click with me. I look at it. And then I see another review. And then I hear about it on a podcast. And then I hear a story like, oh, I played that game at Protospiel and it was awesome.
Yep.
So now it's the third time I've heard about it, and I'm like, all right, that's a lot of buzz for this. I'm going to go check this out.
Yep. Another big one, so right under that is the 48-hour reminder email. So there's 48 hours left. They like the campaign enough to say, remind me when it's almost done, but not enough to actually back it right away, or they didn't have time.
So these are people that you've shared the information with beforehand?
Not necessarily. No, this one is actually people who saw the campaign anytime during the campaign, and they just weren't quite ready to back for one reason. So they said, just remind me about it later. Maybe I need to look at it a little closer to figure out which reward level I want to go after.
I was thinking you were saying 48 hours before it begins. You said
no.
48 hours before it ends.
But the
48 hours left to go back. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I use it a lot, and I'll look at a project,
Yep.
and I'll be like, I don't know about these guys. They seem to have some obvious issues, some lessons that they have not learned. But I'll hit the reminder. I'll look at it, and then I'll read their updates, and I'll look at things, and then I'll check, and I'll go, okay. Maybe I'll back these guys because they seem to have cleaned up in their description what the issues I was worried about. Or sometimes they have stretch goals that scare me off, and I'll have to remind me, and then I'll look at it like, oh, we're going to do minis, we're going to do this. I'm like, nope, not going to back. That's going to be a train wreck. I'm not going to back that.
Because they're not going to get you your game on time.
No.
Or it's going to take forever, and they're going to lose money. I'll wait and buy it in a store if they make it through the train wreck that they have caused.
But you did mention before the project begins. So that's the Kickstarter Watch Project launch.
Okay.
So we got 23 people from that, and that's quite a bit because that is important.
More than I would expect.
Because it was actually kind of a strategy Clayton and I used to put that campaign link out there, the preview link, where it's just a preview. The campaign is not launched yet, but we set up the campaign page and have it ready to go, and then we send out the link, and people can give us feedback on it. And they can say, I don't understand this stretch goal, or I don't understand this reward level, or you need to make this section clearer. This doesn't include something that I care about, and so then we can tweak it before we actually launch. So they're really helping us, and then they can also hit the remind me when this project launch button. Okay. So that's a strategy we're going to use in future campaigns.
That's
really,
awesome.
really well. Yeah. Yep. And so we got quite a few people from it.
I'd say use that preview link.
Yes.
You will make typos and mistakes.
Yep.
Have people look at it.
Yep. I send it out to everyone. Everyone
That's
I
awesome.
can.
What were you most surprised about? Like that you had either way more people than you thought were going to show up from a specific link, or way less than it was way less successful.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Way better.
I would say Reddit. So Reddit gave us 24 people, 3.12%. That's a pretty big chunk of people. But we didn't do anything for Reddit. For New Salem,
really?
No.
Really?
It just happens. People talk about it. And so New Salem, we kind of ran into some issues. Neither Clayton nor I was very familiar with Reddit, but we did a Ask Me Anything. But we didn't really know how to do it. We promoted it with an update, and then someone got mad at us for doing it because you're not supposed to promote it. They have rules about it. We just didn't know about
You use
it.
Reddit, sir?
Okay, so we kind of screwed
Richard?
I do not.
that up.
I do.
Yeah,
And-
it's great. I mean, the
And
more,
Ting does, and some of our guys at Network. So in the future, we can help you with that.
but that's not even again. That's not in the rules. That's against the rules. I can't be like, hey guys, can you promote this thing? We can't do that.
Officially, that is against the rules.
Right.
However,
But I know people do
unofficially, people who have researched how this works, that is how Reddit works.
Right.
It is an old boys network popularity contest. That is how it works.
Yeah,
I'm dead. There is hard evidence to that fact. So
Right.
what you do is you say, hey, we want to talk about this on Reddit. Can you guys go there and drop us a comment, say hello, upload it on that date? And officially, that may be against the rules, but you know what? That's how it works.
Right.
As
So
I
you've got to get
understand,
your like for Facebook. Hey, go like my thing. Bump my likes.
Yeah.
So to pump me up, Reddit. The first 30 minutes matter the most. If you put up there, say your AMA,
Yep.
the number of upvotes and comments you get in the first 30 minutes, and even that, the first 5 minutes,
Yep.
are going to dictate how many people see that post.
I believe
Period. So if Richard and I are interested in what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and we have accounts, and you say, I'm going to go put it up at 3 p.m.,
Yeah.
and we go there and upvote you and drop a comment, a lot more people are going to see that on Reddit than if we don't do that.
Or let it happen naturally, and still, people talk about it on Reddit, and
But
people
I
talk about
bet,
Kickstarter.
had we backed you up,
Yeah.
you would have quadrupled that number
Could
from
be,
Reddit.
could be. So timeline. So I'll just go over a couple of critical points.
When you started.
Yeah, so January 22nd.
Okay.
I started it. So Clayton and I started it. So if you look at the timeline here, we'll put this up on the screen. You can see a big jump on that first day, and that'll happen. One thing we did is we strategically set it to launch at 9 p.m. Pacific, which is midnight East Coast time, because that's when the start time for is it Kickstarter or KickTrack? KickTrack. That's when KickTrack starts their logging of the hours. They consider day one to be 12:01 a.m. So that's why we launched at that point to have the base numbers on day one as we could. I don't have any evidence to say that's important, but when someone sees you have a huge first day, that might make them more interested in your project and want to back.
So you're saying you're willing to game the system with KickTrack, but not
No,
with
no,
Reddit.
no. I don't think that's gaming the system. So that's something. So we did have a huge first day. We had 270 backers and just over $8,000 on the first day. And that's going to happen. You're going to have a big day if you do it right. We also
30% of your total backing.
270 backers, close to that. Yeah, that's about right. About 30. So we also try to get people, our video reviewers, our blog articles, to release their articles on that day of launch or the second day. We try to put everything as much as we can up front because we believe that early backers builds more backers later on. So, some people will say you want to stretch it out so that you can kind of, you have a dead zone in your campaign where not many people back, and you want to maybe release some videos and stuff in the middle of your dead zone. My philosophy is that you do as much as you can up front, and then things will happen throughout the campaign to kind of help you through that dead zone. Or not, let it happen. It's a dead zone. As you can see here, we had a dead
They
zone.
also
right
called
in
the
middle.
Valley of Despair.
Sure,
You
sure.
get the big pop in the
Sure.
first 48 hours, and you launch, you get your buzz, and people are talking about it, tweeting about it, telling their friends, and then Valley of Despair, and then the 48-hour reminder emails go out, and oh yeah, I want to hop on the bandwagon!
Yep.
And you get that big 48, the last big pop at the end.
Yep. So our first 4 days were pretty big. We had 270, then 50, then 40, then 40 backers. So on that fourth day, we released 6 Be in the Game spots, and so that normally,
Yeah!
normally it would have gone down from 40 to something closer to what it was the following day, 23. By the fourth day, you're past the initial launch buzz. But these Be in the Game spots really generated a lot of interest and got people excited about the campaign. So that was one.
Can we explain a little bit more what that is?
Yeah, be in the game. So you get to be on one of the integrity cards. You send us a picture. We have our artist draw a kind of a cartoon version of you, and we put you on one of the integrity cards. You're going to be in every copy of Bombers and Traders, and that was $125 to be at that level.
I will say for the record that I think Brian did not charge enough money for that.
They were gone in 5 minutes.
He is too much of a nice guy. I think he easily could have charged $250 for that, and we still sold those out easily.
We thought about it. So they did go in 5 minutes, those first 6 slots. But then we did open up 14 more, which brings us to the next spot of activity, which was on the January 30th, 31st, and then February 1st, which would have been about 10 days into the campaign. 7 days, I guess, for the 30th, and then so 7 to 10 days. We released those 14 more. And so they also went pretty much right away. They were people picked those up pretty quickly, and that added a lot of money. So that was in one day $1,400, whereas the previous day was only $473. So it was just a big boost to the actual funding, not necessarily the backers. We only had 16 backers, which was the same as the day before and the day after, but it was the money that really we got a big jump there. And then we had
I think,
Yeah.
I would say, this is my opinion, having backed a lot of Kickstarter campaigns and seen those kind of pledge levels many times, and they typically sell out. If your game is halfway decent, and it's not like, oh, I've never heard of this, and you don't charge too much. Now, if you were a nobody, let's say Brian knew his first Kickstarter game, maybe $100 a pop, but this is now an expansion for an established game that's getting all kinds of great reviews and great buzz. Then I think you can up your price, $150, $200, $250. Another designer friend of mine talking about this Protoskull Houston last year, and he goes, yeah, we put up our game, we had 16 slots to be a character in the game, your likeness, and that we priced them for $250, and they sold out in like 10 minutes. And like, we should have charged more for him. We could have got more for him. So if you are doing your Kickstarter campaign, you have to decide, are you going to be a nice guy like Brian and make them affordable, or are you going to price them higher and see what happens? So what I might do is I might do tiers. Like Brian released his in 2 waves.
Yep.
Like 6 and another 14.
Yep.
I might say, well, I'm going to throw up the first 6 at 100, and if they go really quick, then I'm going to ask 150 for the next wave, or 200 for the next wave, and see what happens.
Was this all planned out from the very beginning?
Yeah.
That you had? Okay.
Yeah.
Is this something that you... I'm sorry, I don't know enough about Kickstarter, having never run a campaign myself. Is this something you have to plan out before you start, or can
No, a lot of people don't.
Can you like 10 days in going, oh my goodness, we're beginning to hit a slump.
A lot of people do that. Yeah.
How about this? You know?
Oh yeah, people get super desperate too
Okay.
when they hit that dead zone. If they haven't reached their funding goal,
Mhm.
they get desperate. They do
Turn into a
crazy
used car
things.
salesman.
They do,
Yeah.
yeah. And they post their link everywhere, and it's sad sometimes, to see it. But I know what they're going through. I understand it
Sure.
anyway. But yeah, we have everything planned out, and we don't want a lot of.
And you should.
Yeah, you should.
You should. The most
should.
successful Kickstarter campaigns, well, we'll use Jamie Stegmaier as an example again, has a spreadsheet planning out, okay, these are my updates. I'm going to, I may not have finished writing the update, or the art is still in progress or whatever, but this is what I want to cover about this time frame. These are all my pledge levels. These are when I'm going to add these things in, or these are my planned stretch goals, and beyond that, you should have all of that planned out before your campaign starts.
Yeah. But we'll do some tweaks too, and some of the things people will, backers will always suggest stretch goals that you should have, things you should change about your game. Well, the thing is, you just need to make sure that that you're not letting your backers who you want to do everything you can for them, but a lot of times they aren't designers and maybe they don't know all of the effects of these changes.
Stretch goals I think are ruining board games and Kickstarter. They are delaying games. They are canceling games. They're causing games not to fund. Because people
fit in the box.
Not to fit in the big box, which drives me crazy. No, I've seen games that are good quality games from a known publisher, and people don't back them. They're like, well, I'm going to wait and see how many stretch goals there were because I want more free stuff. And then the game doesn't fund and it doesn't make it out. Because people are holding out for all like, I want custom meeples, I want all this. And the publisher's like, that's going to double the production cost of this game. That's going to delay this game another 6 months. I don't know if I can do that. And all of this, I want more stuff, more stretch goals. Then the game doesn't make it.
most commonly it will increase shipping costs, and that's what people don't expect, and that will really hit you at the end, and so that's what you really have to be careful of. One thing.
The publisher you believe in, or the designer you believe in, you just ate their lunch.
Right.
But all those stretch goals, raising so it doesn't fit in the box, it costs them more shipping, delays the production, costs them. They make no money, or they lose money because of the stretch goal greed that has just sunk them. And you're like, well, I'm doing this good thing on Kickstarter. I'm backing these guys, making their dream come true, and I'm supporting board games I believe in and artists. Or I just ruined these guys. Oh, more stretch goals.
Right. But I do want to be clear, too, that I do really want to hear this from the backers because it may change what I do next time. Even though I have this campaign planned out, I might change things next time. Even a few people suggested some interesting equipment for Good Cop, Bad Cop 2 in this. And I loved hearing about that. Someone suggested walkie-talkies. And we didn't even have that. We have a huge list of equipment that we're considering for future versions of Good Cop, Bad Cop and expansions and stuff. But that we didn't have. And like walkie-talkies, we got to have that. That's something that cops use. So we're past the dead zone. Well, we can talk about that. All campaigns have a dead zone. The worst day we had was one backer, and we lost $31. So somebody actually
pulled out.
canceled.
Okay, I was going to say, how does that work? It's
They cancel their
I
pledge.
will back you, give me money, and
What percentage of your pledges cancel approximately?
I've never calculated that, but it's more than you would expect.
I hear it's about 10% from other people.
I think it's more than that.
More than that?
Well,
Yeah.
that cancel, I would say 10% is at least 10%.
People they spend all their money.
It's surprising.
They're between paychecks. Like, oh, when I started this campaign, I had
Yeah.
money, and now I'm broke.
Right.
So
So
I've
it's not
changed
so
my
much
mind.
that they're scared off by anything. It's
They might be scared off. But the ones I've seen who analyze this, why did it pull up? Like the number one reason given was, I was excited, but I just don't have the money.
Yep, we hear that all the time. And some people too. I mean, it's possible. Like we send out a limited demo print and play, but maybe somebody just wants to get that, and then they can pull out of their pledge, and then they get their free demo print and play. Maybe that happens. I don't know. So if we move past the dead zone now to something that I think maybe may help other creators out there, DungeonCon was a convention that occurred during the campaign. And that was something that I knew was happening during the campaign, and I made sure to schedule events every day, for many hours during that convention to demo the game as much as possible. And we did see a pretty good jump during that time. So the day before DungeonCon, we had 8 backers and $244. The first day of DungeonCon, we jumped up to 18, so 10 additional backers. And then the next day at DungeonCon still had 16. And then the next day, talk about that in a minute, what happened there. But we also saw that, we're here in California. It's a very small convention in California. It's only probably 2,000 people, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty small. Yeah.
Small convention, but still, we had half the backers those days coming from California, where they actually specify in their profile that they came from California. So I am confident that we got a lot of backers, just from people I played the game with.
If you can show your game at a con,
Yep.
why the Kickstarter campaign is going on, this is a tremendous benefit. I've also heard this from Michael Keller, who when he was running his campaign, I think it was City Hall, it might have been Campus Industry, he was at BGG Con in the middle of his campaign, and he said that, I don't know the numbers he gave me, so I'm just ballparking, I think he got like 25% of his total backers, just of people seeing it at that campaign and playing it and hearing about it that way.
Yeah.
I know at BGG Con, I actually backed some Kickstarter campaigns on my phone as I was walking around, like, oh, here, this game is on Kickstarter now. And I asked the guy at the booth, oh, tell me how to play. And he gave me like the run through of he could teach me how to play in like 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I learned to play this game in 2 minutes. I like the theme. Seems pretty cool. I'm going to go back it right now.
Right.
Let me ask you something, because you said Michael you said before he wouldn't recommend running your Kickstarter campaign while you're at a convention.
Oh, so he said both.
Okay.
He said so the upside was he brought in a lot of people by going into convention while his campaign was running. Now Brian is smart and he has his time, so it's in the dead zone. The other side is almost killed him keeping up with all the updates and managing a Kickstarter campaign takes a lot of hours.
So you wouldn't schedule a convention appearance during the first few days of a.
I think the first 48, last 48, bad idea.
Yep.
You're going to kill yourself.
And this was too close to the end of the campaign. We should have done it in the dead zone. I mean, there are so many things to consider when you're deciding when to start and end a campaign, but that is one thing. If you have a small convention in your area, putting that in the middle, in your dead zone, right in the middle of your campaign, is the best time for that to happen. And I think you're talking about Gen Con and how you can kind of get, or the con season, where you can get lost.
Even local cons that are in your area. If you know, like my design partner has OwlCon at a given weekend, and his the same weekend I was at Unpub in Houston, which is a smaller gaming convention at a university there. If we were doing a Kickstarter, we might time it so OwlCon is right in the middle of that,
Yep.
and we have the ability to reach people in the dead zone.
OwlCon, that's got to be Rice, right?
Yeah.
So one reason why you don't want to have it at the beginning or the end is because you are very busy during that time. You're answering questions, you're commenting. There's a lot of Kickstarter activity that you need to do during that time, and so you don't really have time to go demo. But in the dead zone, a couple backers a day, you're not really interacting very much with them. So you have time to go demo your game.
Okay.
But you can
doubled the backers you were getting by going to Gen Con.
Yeah. But also you can get lost during con season 2. I have launched a campaign during Gen Con, and I did feel like nobody knew who I was.
Too much noise.
There is too much people buying games left and right. They don't want to go to Kickstarter and buy
way too
more.
much going on.
So
the local con I think is a much better idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How about, because if I'm thinking about the timing here, what about launching it right after a con appearance? If you're, shopping to people right beforehand.
No, I would not recommend that.
Okay.
It's okay because people do get
I've seen
an
people do
idea
that.
of, hey, this game is going to be out there, but we had people backing immediately. We saw the result right away. That day.
Because they could walk away from the table,
Right,
pull out
measure.
their phone.
And they did.
can
And
measure.
I saw backers come in. Right after a game ended, I would see people back.
I've seen people at little cons have an iPad at the table.
Yeah.
Hey, want to back it right now?
Yep.
There's the iPad. You can go right there and back it right here, right now.
Yep.
And before they can forget, write your name down wrong, something like that, they have the opportunity to do that. Or you can say, just hit the remind me link on it. Just you don't have to go put your credit card in here, or don't sign in if you don't want to. Maybe just email yourself a page from the iPad. I have seen pre-launch game companies, like Pack of Game did some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Where they went to local cons and they created an email sign-up list. Did you like these games? When they hit Kickstarter, do you want us to notify you? And they built this email list from con appearances before they went and actually launched.
That I would highly recommend, building that email list. So another thing too is Prefundia is a common pre-campaign. I know people don't really like it very much. We can maybe talk about it on another episode, but that's another way to kind of gather support before your campaign launches.
We'd like to hear from you. Do you want to hear us talk about Prefundia? Or another one, I've joined this thing called Backer Club.
Yeah.
You have to have backed 50 Kickstarter campaigns to get in the Backer Club. And it's very interesting. And I backed a bunch of stuff from Backer Club, but we want to talk about that in the future.
We'll talk about that in the future, yeah. Then we got the support from Shut Up and Sit Down. So that was something we didn't ask for from Shut Up and Sit Down. We didn't even know they were going to do it, but they wrote an article, and we got a whole bunch of support, a ton of people coming from that. So we're coming to the end of the campaign. We had the last 2 days, so always the last 2 days are going to be huge. And so there's really nothing to say about that. You're going to be busy. We had a whole bunch of people.
The
48 hours. Yep, the 48-hour reminder will add. So as soon as you hit the 48-hour mark, you're going to get a ton of people coming to back your campaign. And that's really it for the timeline. So the last thing I want to talk about is just some lessons learned, some things that we would do differently next time. So one is cross promotions. We did more cross promotions this time than we did in our previous campaign.
You were saying with Ted. You had done a cross
We did
promotion
for New Salem.
Okay.
Yeah, Ted Allspaw.
Okay, I'm
Ted
sorry.
and everything running this time.
That was for New Salem.
Okay.
But this time, so that worked really well. The cross promotion we did with the Tower campaign did work really well. And so we did that more this time because we wanted to get more of that. But it didn't work out very well this time. I mean, it just didn't. We didn't really see much of an impact. But the main issue there was that we put a nice big picture of their campaign. We talked about their campaign. We talked about the connection that we had between us and the other creator. And they didn't. For us, they were just like, oh yeah, by the way,
Oh, it sounds cool.
by the way, there's there's this campaign that you can go back and do.
Now, we've talked last couple episodes about contracts. Is that something that, if you're cross-promote, would you want to put something down on paper about that? Or?
We wouldn't do anything on paper, but we might be a little more specific and say, like, give them an example, like, here's what we've done in the past, and show them a big image and, description, and maybe even give that to them. If you want to use this image, go ahead just to make sure that hopefully they give us a little more space in there.
Would you write?
Write the copy for them?
Yeah.
I would.
Maybe. Yeah.
I could change it, but
It's a
I'd
good
write a
idea.
copy for them.
Good idea. The excitement of the Be in the Game spots was really cool. If we can find
Yeah.
some more ways to get
Charge
people
more.
excited, no, not necessarily charge more, but just get more things like that to just be like, hey guys, now we got this, and here's a big exciting thing that people will really care about. The biggest thing is that we were not EU friendly. So by EU friendly, meaning we were not shipping out of the EU to reduce the customs costs that they would have to pay when they got their game. So a lot of EU people, Jeremy talked about how Europe has as many people. Was it just the UK or Europe that has many?
Germany.
people?
Germany
Just
is the big board game market.
Bigger than the US.
It's almost as big as the U.S. in Germany alone.
So
And
a
then
lot of
France
them.
and the U.K. and other countries buy a lot of games too.
So I don't know what percentage, but if you are EU friendly, you're going to have way more backers jump on your project, which will create more backers. Your campaign can really, our campaign would have an opportunity to explode if we had EU friendly. So we will have that for our next campaign for sure. Returning backer levels weren't very effective, so we gave people a discount for coming back from one campaign to another, but we didn't really see any more coming back from New Salem and on to Bombers and Traders than we did from Good Cop, Bad Cop to New Salem. So I don't think they were very effective, and they made people kind of sad when they saw that they didn't get a discount that somebody else did. So
Okay.
it's something that we probably wouldn't do
Which
again.
I like the idea of returning backers some sort of perk for that, as someone who backs a lot of stuff. And I'm sorry that didn't work out. I can understand it may just be more hassle than it's worth, but that has meant something to me in the past. When the returning backer, you save a couple bucks, or you get a promo or something like that as a thank you for backing multiple campaigns from the same publisher.
See, my thought would be those people noticed that they didn't get a discount this time, so that makes them say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to continue to back your stuff," and then get
People like to
Could be.
complain about everything on the internet.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: how much are they going to complain next time if they back?
right.
I did it again because I was expecting a discount, and what happened?
It's always tough.
Are you saying the internet is full of people who complain about things?
I'm saying we can satisfy them. Obviously, you
So-
got to be able to.
People go to complain about things on the internet?
You got
What?
to give them enough stuff so they stop complaining about stuff. That's possible, right? No, that's not okay. Moving
So
on.
the last one is social media goals. They've been a part of every one of our campaigns so far. We really like having them. We think it is. We want to give people a reason to share on Facebook, Twitter, go to our Board Game Geek page. So we had 3 different ways to do it. You could share 500 times on Facebook. Just click the share button on the campaign. Super easy.
People would share it. Not one individual.
Sorry.
Yeah.
500 total
Sorry.
shares.
Yeah. 500 total shares.
You're sitting there all day.
Right.
Share.
So we didn't come close to that.
I don't like the social media goals. I read that as, hey, spam your friends.
Mhm.
And I
Okay.
don't like those.
Okay.
I think I would tend to, because I tend to be against that. I would probably say,
But it's not going to make you mad. You're just not going to do it, right?
Right.
And then 200 tweets was another one. So you just need to include the URL of the Kickstarter campaign. Mention Bombers, Traders. That's it. We didn't quite meet that, but we had some technical difficulties with that. So we just said, go ahead. We achieved it because we couldn't quite track perfectly. So we just said, yeah, we'll just give you this one, so you get another equipment card from that. And then we had 100 pictures of people playing Good Cop, Bad Cop added to the Board Game Geek page for Good Cop, Bad Cop. We wanted to draw people to that page, get people to hopefully
That's
rate
cool.
the game.
I like that because that's useful to me. And I can go see the pictures of the game in action, play. Especially if I'm hopping in on the bandwagon with the expansion, being able to see people playing the game in diverse crowds, how many players, and their reactions.
Sure.
That's a value to me. So that one I do like.
But we
And
did
it's a
not
value
get there.
to you too.
Oh yeah, because you can get on the hotness list. We were hoping if the campaign would have done well enough, it would help us to get on that hotness list. The front page of Board Game Geek has a hotness list, and if you can get on there, you get a whole bunch more people to check out your game.
Well, thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you guys for joining us. I've been your host, Richard New, and I'm here as always with Jeremy Commander and Brian Heath. If you have anything you'd like us to talk about, please leave it in
Leave it in the comments, or you can email us at theforbiddenlimb@gmail.com. or visit the Forbidden Limb blog or page.
Everyone, there's probably like 20 minutes of me going. Blah, blah, blah. I'm leaving this one in because thank you for saving me. Right
We
there.
have him do the hard work. We don't have to say any of that stuff.
The number of times I cannot get through an intro or outro. Okay, so thank you very much for joining. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you guys across the table sometime.
Woo!
All
Okay.
right.
Wrap.